The views and opinions on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts ownership or management. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show. All right, we're back here at the Westgate Resort, Las Vegas, in the International Showroom in Elvis Presley's dressing room with Al Tallman. We're going to keep talking about the life of Al Tallman and his time in show business and all the adventures that we've had. And, you know, we talk a little bit off the mic between these sets and, you know, stories we probably can't tell in other places because, you know, we have these stories. So, but Al, I'd like to go back just a little bit. What year did you come to Vegas?
1978.
78, okay.
I had a 2-month-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay, 78. Did you just transfer your membership here in?
Yeah, eventually. I carried my card back there for the first 2 years, and then I finally joined. In about 80, I joined 720.
Okay, because I first met you in 1980 when we were building Jubilee.
Yeah.
Out at the shop, you know. That was a shop that had. That was Apprentice, as I said before. That shop had the most talented people.
Just going to say the same thing.
It was mind-blowing. You know, at the time, I didn't realize it, but I looked back years later, and I was like, you know, that had between Bobby Simmons, Al Bash, Pat Huffine, you know, Richard Kelly. I mean, you just name these guys, and they're like, these were like the best builders ever.
Mike Knoll, you know.
Yeah, it was amazing.
No matter where you looked, there was always somebody that not only knew what they were doing, they could have taught what they did. You know, amazing. We built waterfalls and all that big stuff. I remember we built 3 icebergs because I wanted to get the one the right size for the icebergs that sank the Titanic at MGM when it opened, and I got the right one. And from that, and Dave Dalton working with fiberglass and the carvings that he would do, and then like the bull's head,
amazing
stuff, and and then wax it or paraffin it really good, and then shoot it with the fiberglass, and just amazing things they built. So much stuff went out of there that they dropped. I mean, they built backdrops and things. They decided nope, and after they built them, I couldn't believe. But it all went quite well. I took tons and tons of pictures, and then everybody wanted them, so I went and got about 10 copies of everything made, and I charged them what it cost me to get them made, you know. So everybody's got the books of the guys building it and different projects as we did as it went along.
Yeah, that shop, literally steel and wood would go in one end and out the other end. It was finished, ready to go and be put in a show.
Yeah,
you know? It was just, you know, amazing stuff.
Huffine and Al Bash allowed everybody to have their own little project, their private project. And I'm thinking, boy, that's something to do. But you know why he did that? He wanted to see how these guys did on their own.
Yeah.
Let them go over there and build something you want.
Government day.
And they watched what you did, and they could see that you were talented, and this is where they're going to put you. You know, I got lucky. When I first came to town, I had a van, and it broke down, and I was out at Al Bash's helping him with something, and he gave me his van or his truck because I couldn't get it done overnight, and he just kind of broke me. He had me building some things there and working with him, and it opened doors for me. With the scene shops, you know, it was A&D Scenery Studio or the MGM Studio or Las Vegas Tom Curl, you know,
Las Vegas Scenery Studio, yeah,
or a lot of times with Fred Joseph and Huey over at Design Concepts, you know, so there were a lot more scene shops in those days, and those things kept you busy during the day.
Did you work at Design Concepts when you built the Hallelujah Hollywood Hello?
Yeah, I worked on that a little bit.
Okay, because that's where I started working, but we were one of the laborers, you know, just clean the steel, stacked wood, you know, because I was 15, 16, whatever I was at that time, you know. And
I remember when they built the airplane that went up to Reno.
Yeah.
You know, and they went out to the airport, and they're telling them what they're doing and that they were looking for some landing gear so they could, and they sold them landing gears off of an airplane, and but telling them about what they were doing, they all wanted to come and see it. And the engineers and the people from McCarran that came to look at it said, "Jesus, if you put control surfaces on this thing, it'd fly." You know, but
A little heavy.
yeah, why did you put two? Why'd you put two main struts on the wings? And Puffine said, "Well, we never built an airplane before." He said, and and they're going to be dancing on the wings, and that's good stories,
Yeah. No, and there was no real plan for it on how to build the curve. And
that's right.
because
Never.
Randy Cardinal was telling me about it because he was one of the guys that built that, and he's like, "Yo, there was no plan." He goes, "We just started building it, and started, just laying it out." And I'm like, "Man, the guys we had back then, Bobby Simmons, remember him?
Oh yeah, Bobby was
He would have brain
hell of a
on that
builder.
guy.
I can remember him going in, and there'd be 250 pieces of steel, and he'd measure it all out, and he'd cut all that steel and send it over. He didn't cut it as you went and build it. He built it, He was with anything, staircases and things like that. He was an amazing builder, Bobby. He's an amazing drinker.
When I was in, that got him in trouble there for a while.
And Bill Rush Sr., the other one,
Bill Rush, I remember him. And I remember when we did the
Ed White.
Oh, Ed White, yeah, too. Yeah, because Bobby Simmons, when I was an apprentice, he said, "We're going to build some stairs," and he gave me a cut list. It was like page after page. He said, "Cut it exactly, and it'll fit."
And he wasn't kidding.
He wasn't kidding. So I mean, literally, like you said, 250 pieces, 300, just stacks and stacks of cut steel, all labeled, listed, and like he had written down on the pages.
Been there, done that. I hear what you're saying.
He did it, and it fit, and it worked. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I was doing a Chrysler show in the rotunda, and they wanted the Chrysler emblem to go up to the ceiling, and they put lights in the railing and the walk ramp around that circle at the top, and these people would come out who had built a lot of the scenery somewhere else. I have no idea where they built it. And this guy starts yelling at me. I said, I've got to make a frame for this Chrysler emblem, and it's got to be 5 or 6 sided. I can't remember, 5, I think, and then with the Chrysler emblem, it's all painted in the muslin, and we'll stretch it. And I said, just get me some good knotted wood. And Bobby went out, and they got to be at least 20 foot long. He went out and got me a bunch of fir. And I made hog troughs, and this guy's barking at me. "That's not going to work. That's going to be dangerous." And you're this out of towner, and I'm just kind of, I'm building it. You're not building it. Take a hike, and I put the thing together, and then we used 5 block and falls just to pull it up, and I put it all together, and it went together just perfect and worked really well. But I had Bobby cut my angles and get it all squared away, and I made some 3/4 inch plywood corners to put eye bolts through to grab it. Anyway, the guy came over and he said, "I'm sorry I yelled at you." And I said, "Well, I knew. That happens once in a while. Don't worry about it. You have to get along with people."
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of little stories like that,
So when Jubilee was done, where did you go from there? What was your next?
Well, I was running a spotlight here at the same time at night for George Gibbs,
Now that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, he kind of burned his own bridge. That's a shame.
Yeah, so did his son.
Yeah, both of them. His son George Jr. was being a pedophile, I think.
Yeah, he was, and I worked with him at Splash for years.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's never getting out of jail.
No, and right where he belongs.
Terrible stuff there.
I remember what was going on up there with the drugs. It was right up in his office, right under the thing. And I'm thinking, this is nuts. There's cameras above it, and the people got to be watching this guy, And that's about the time I said I'm out of here, and just started working for Cinema all the time. And I told him at the end of a show, I said, I'm not going to be able to do your next show. I'm out of here, and I left the Hilton. It's just and boy, that name stuck to a lot of people. Shame.
Yeah. There were some times there where people just got carried away with the life of show business, and it's like, guys,
It's destroyed themselves.
themselves and everything around because they took advantage. They just, I think they, like so many people do, they get thinking that this party will never end and I'm going to do whatever I want. And it's like, no. It's
Yeah, they forget who they're working for.
yeah, they think that they're untouchable. I've seen more guys come and go out of this place because they thought they were untouchable.
Yeah. I remember the '84 strike.
Oh, yeah, let's get to 84.
I got arrested and hauled off a couple of times, but that was all thrown out thanks to Dennis Kiss. It was illegal what Judge Thompson did. I remember Thompson was running for office, and the San Gennaro was at the Landmark right across from this place, and he had a booth, and between shows we'd run over there and get sandwiches and whatever, have a beer, and I said, "Whose booth is that?" And they said, "That's Thompson's," and he's the guy that brought all those charges against us. And I was in my blacks, and I went over there, and at the top, I put my arms up. I said, "That's it, bring it back, cut a little bit more to your right." And Thompson was like, "What are you doing?" I said, I got a truck coming in. And he goes, "What?" And he's looking around, got a truck, the hotel was there. He says, "What's a truck of what?" I said, "It's a truckload of horse shit, Judge. We're delivering it to your booth." Everybody cracked up, and I went over and sat down, and they said, "You better never be in front of him in court, Al." I said,
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. He'll remember that stuff.
Truckload of horse shit, Judge.
That's funny
Then it
stuff
got
there.
thrown out. And there was a couple of them during that damn strike.
Yeah, I walked the line down at the Union Plaza. That was a time when I was working at the Mint,
Yeah.
and we didn't have a contract or anything, so I'd go work the Mint Lounge, and then then go down between sets and stuff like that, and go walk the line and and stuff like that, and just like. I hope nobody from the Mint sees me doing this.
Yeah. A funny one is Tim Allen was over at Fuddy Duddy's, and one of his buddies hit a jackpot, and a lot of money, like $3 or $4 grand, and he got a limo. And Tim said, "Can we use the limo for a bit?" They were sitting at the bar. He said, "Yeah, what for?" And they loaded all the strike signs out of Timmy's back of truck in the limo, and he drove 3 of them to the frontier, and then he pulls in and stops, and the driver gets out and opens the trunk and puts the signs on them, and security's taking pictures of all this, and they're checking there. "I can't believe you, Tim Allen." They went out and picketed for an hour, and he came back and got them, opened the trunk, put the signs back in.
That's funny.
You gotta have a good time. You gotta be able to laugh.
Yeah, you got to create sometimes the fun and just because the show business, it's a serious business. People don't realize it's a very, very, very serious business because people can get hurt very easily in our business.
It's dangerous business.
But you can find ways to enjoy it and have a laugh, and because it's supposed to be enjoyable because you're here to make people laugh and enjoy themselves.
Exactly.
And that's what so many people don't get. It's like if you come to work on this stage and you're in a bad mood and you leave in a bad mood,
You've affected
what's
everybody.
wrong with you?
And you've affected everybody.
Yeah, you're here to enjoy it. Our job is to make that 1,600 people out there walk out of there
happy.
laughing and happy
with a memory.
and glad they spent that $100 or $200 on a ticket or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's the best business in the world.
I'll tell you, here's a good one. I was there's this Frank Coons and Ciplo, 2 card-carrying IA members from Reno, came down during that strike and went to work for MGM and scabbed us. And then they went around, did some other things too, but they had to get back in, we'd signed a 2-hour minimum contract. You remember all that?
Yeah.
Went from 8 to 4 to 2. And I said, they, having been a business agent and dealt with those kind of environments, I said, they've got to deal with a 2-hour minimum as we do. It's not. It can affect them the same way it's affecting us. And everybody said, no. People, I said, well, all you got to go in is go in and hold them to the 2 hours. And Michelle called me and said, I want you to go in and take a choke change in the celebrity room at the MGM. And I said, and they're sending Don Lamson home, and Coons is coming in, the guys, and they're going to oversee the installation of the next show. And I said, well, I didn't take show change calls before the show, before the strike. And they said, well, you said, I said, okay, I'll take it. So I go in there and I helped them get the show out. And I think Manilow or somebody was coming in. And they had some hard drops that they had left from the last time he was in. Coons goes down and he finds his center stage and he puts a T there and he sets it so many feet upstage so that it will clear the piece that comes in and not be upstage of it. And he turned his back and I moved it, so that it was further upstage and that when he got the set and everything, and it's going to land on that damn set where he builds the set in the right place. And then we started unloading the trucks to get the show in, and I took everything that went downstage right and shoved it upstage left, everything that went downstage right. The other way, put it the other way, and everything that went center stage and there and everything that went completely upstage, downstage of that. So everything's going to have to move every time they try and set a piece. And then it was about 1 in the morning, and we'd come in at 10 o'clock, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, "You gonna get in the truck and get the last piece?" And everybody thought I was just gonna belt him, but I wasn't gonna belt him. I just said, "What time is it?" He said, "It's 1 o'clock." I said, "You're shitting me." I said, "You mean I've given you an hour?" He said, "Give me an hour." I said, "Yeah, I came in at 10 o'clock. I did you 2 hours at midnight." He said, "Oh, no, you don't understand the 2-hour minimum. 2-hour minimum means no matter what we do with you in here, we have to pay you for the 2 hours. But after that, we keep you till the show's done." I said, no, I don't think you understand 2-hour minimum. I said, a 2-hour minimum means if I agree to come in here, I've got to give you 2 hours. But if I got something better after 2 hours, I can go do that. And I said, I got something better today. And I said, anybody with any balls here is going with me. And I went across the street to the stage door of the bar. I told a couple of guys, "Come over here and let me know how this is going." And I drank and my beers, and finally they came over and I said, "So what happened?" And they said, "Well, they canceled the first show because they had to take the hem set apart and shuffle everything around because it wasn't dead center in the hard legs that they had in there. A hard set landed on the set, and that's too bad." And I said, "So what's going on?" I said, "Well, they got that fixed, gave us a break, and they're going to start the second show like 45 minutes, an hour late." And I said, "Oh, it's too bad," And then they had sent Lamson home. So the next, about 2 weeks later, a week or two later, I'm doing Honda Power Products up in their convention area, and here comes Don Lamson. He's walking along. He comes over and he said, "Al," I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to shake your hand." And I said, "Oh, what for?" And he said, "You know." He was back. They weren't sending him home anymore. Yeah. He stayed we had gotten it kind of got the point across, you can shoot yourself in the foot. And that's exactly what they'd done with a 2-hour minimum. Yeah.
When I came here in '94 as head carpenter, we still had the 2-hour minimum.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this 2-hour minimum's not going to work. And I told management at the time, it says, not doing anybody for 2 hours. It says, it's a 4-hour minimum. Anybody I bring in, anybody I call and say, will you come in, they get 4-hour minimum, period. Well, the contracts too. Okay. Well, here's how it's due. Then I'll just do an open call, and I'm not going to call any of my guys in. And we'll just deal with whatever the hall sends us. I said, because then it'll turn into a 4 or 5 or 6 hour call.
Exactly.
Then. I go, but if I call my guys and say it's a 4-hour, we'll be in and out, they're going to come and they're going to give me 4 and it's going to be done. But if you think I'm going to give you my list, I'm not going to. Because my guys know that they come in and they're going to get a 4-hour period.
Yeah.
And that 2 hours, it'll be an open call to the hall. Send me 10 carpenters from the whatever list you find. Said, we'll see. We'll just deal with it, And after a while, that went away real quick in this place.
Yeah, Sometimes that's what it takes.
And I'm the one that on one of the contracts told management it's going to be very, very simple here. Because we're at that time, 10 show guarantee was gone. We were going on to hourly and stuff like that. I go, that's fine. But here's how it's going to be. wardrobe gets parity. End of story. Wardrobe gets parity. And they resisted, and then finally, but that was nice because when it was the Hilton at the end there, we had Kathy Rybar was the VP of HR, and I sat down with her and talked to her for 30 minutes and said, Kathy, it's not fair these women work as hard as they do
And get less.
I go, they don't stop, and finally I go, it's only being fair. It's equal work, equal pay. We hear these things, but all we're going to do is it's not fair that they're not getting it. I said, I am willing and my guys are willing to give up our increase as long as they get parity.
I did the same thing with cinema services.
Oh, good.
When I was stewarding, a lot of times I cut governor and stewarded too because I just needed somebody to get it done right with a lot of these different shows we were doing. And but I'd take wardrobe and I'd pay them department head pay. And I remember I think it was Barbara that said, their rate's different. And I said, Barbara, they work as hard as we do. They're department heads. Why should it be different? I knew I'd get it through to her because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And
she was smart about that.
And she was smart,
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
See,
It's terribly unfair to not pay those people that were working as hard as you were in theirs. And they had a skill that got things done right and fast,
Yeah. So you did it on that side. I was working here to get that stuff done. It's like, that's all it takes. A couple of guys doing that.
Yeah.
And trying to make a difference and trying to fix things. And it's like I told guys, oh, you should run for something at the hall. I don't want anything to do with the hall.
Yeah.
I can make my little area, this building, the best it can be.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do.
The story that I was telling you earlier about the strike and Walter Deal and the International Law, they before that strike, for a good 2 months, 3 months, I went to United Auto Workers, I went to United Rail Workers, I went to United Rubber Workers as a guest to their meeting. And then their good and welfare, I got up and told them who we were and how small we were and what a fight we were in. And I got to tell you, it were the Teamsters. I probably shouldn't say this because a lot of it's illegal. But the Teamsters would deliver me the film before they delivered it to them. And I'd take the trailers off and stick them on the front and then break the film in the middle or flip it over before they delivered it to them. And then the same thing, the IBW came in and they go in and cut seats. Or they went in and let rats loose. And it was those other unions. And all they wanted to do was settle that strike. And of course, having Don Tucker, my friend that was the attorney doing the negotiations, it went quite fast. But I got to tell you, I was never so nervous and scared in my life as I was when I had that little local out on strike and my international wasn't going to back me up. And
that's a damn disgrace.
But the other unions, the locals that they told not to back me up said, if you need help, just call us, we'll send you. But internationals told us we can't come in there and do it.
Ridiculous.
We got it.
Ridiculous. Just, yeah. And that type of attitude goes back to when my grandfather, started this stuff with Bugsy Siegel in this town.
Those guys had a real challenge. Those guys to do that here.
Yeah.
When the mob was running this town. I've heard some stories too about.
Yeah, but my grandfather always said, they were honest with us. They were upfront, and on a handshake, it was done.
Yeah.
It wasn't, let's talk about this for the next 6 weeks and send an attorney. No, you just said, let's do this. Our guys, got a little raise last time. We'd like a little raise this year.
Yeah.
And can we do this and this and this? And then they'd come back and go, that's a little much on our side, but we'll give you this and this and this. And you'd take it away and go talk to your people and go, yeah, we'll do that. Done.
Good.
So he always said, dealing with the mob guys was preferable.
It was a much better town. All they cared about is the gaming, and they gave great meals. They give you're sitting at a table, they'd feed you. The great buffets, and that's where it all started. They gave most everything away, just to bring people in, and they made this town. They had to do that in the beginning. Nobody knew what Vegas was.
Yeah.
They had to build it up and draw the people.
And I'll tell you what, the employee Christmas parties for the kids and stuff like that were out of this world.
Oh, yeah.
you know, 'cause I'd go to those because my dad was at either Sahara or the Bonanza or whatever like that, and we'd go there. And I mean, the stuff they gave the kids and just the party that they had for the kids, it was just mind blowing. It's like they, you know, it's one of those things they kind of cared about their employees.
Yeah.
It's weird. You know?
Well, they did. You know, they obviously did.
It was awesome, you know, and
But you go back in history, it was the corporations that beat up on labor. You know, look at the auto industry and the Pinkertons that these people would bring in, and the threats and the house burnings and kill the husband, and leave the widow with the kids, and back in the 20s and from the turn of the century to the 20s, you know, the corporations were going to run everything, and with an iron fist.
Yeah.
And it took unions, and it took men standing up to challenge them.
and that's why my grandfather came down here out of Ogden, the Ogden area, because that type of thing went on in the theaters up there, and you know the guys that owned the theaters brought their big old goons basically.
I heard stories about people being machine gunned on catwalks and things trying to get down on back in the day. Yeah. I think I told you when I came in, you had to make every union meeting, and you if there was a discussion, they wanted your opinion, and they're all judging you all the time, and you're working for nothing. You're just going out and covering a guy's shift, and he's getting paid, and then they bring you in when you've reached the time. You've put enough time in the saddle. They pass that box around with a white and a red and a black marble, and hand you the box. You open it up. You got a white one. You got a black one. You got to wait another month till the next meeting and go through it again. I got in the first time.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was.
Yeah, they had that kind of a break-in thing here too, where you would go and work, spotlight for months or whatever like that, and do it for free.
Yeah.
Until you got to that point where the guy was running it said, okay, he's a spotlight operator.
And it wasn't a bad thing to do. You learned your job in it, and you were very careful in paying attention because you wanted the job, and it's illegal as hell. But
yeah, but like you say, the good part was you were going to be very good at it because you weren't going to get in and make a living ever if you weren't.
Exactly.
So that was the incentive. You better learn this and be good at it, or else you're done.
Go find something else.
Yeah, you go work at McDonald's or whatever, It was illegal, like you say, but at the same time, I saw the incentive side of the thing and understand it very well, But anyway, that wraps up this episode here.
Well, okay.
And, we're having some good stuff going on here. I'm enjoying this conversation, and so we're going to be back in just a minute here and continue on with Al Tallman. You're listening to It's Showtime, the Craig L. Hayes Show.